Thorim has a hard mode which is easy to both activate and to execute. Hard mode definitely does make the boss slightly more hectic, but the additions are fairly minimal and it's an achievable hard mode for most. First phase, you need to split your raid into two. It doesn't need to be anywhere near an even split because of how long the timer is to actually start hard mode. But you have a tunnel team that goes through a gauntlet and you have an arena team who stays in the main room handling adds until the tunnel team finishes. In terms of tanking, ideally for the tunnel team, having snap AoE threat is actually really useful. So sending a prop paladin with things like warlocks or hard cleave specs is advisable. You have a couple of packs of adds before you reach a giant at the end, and he'll raise one arm while you're running down towards him, and then he'll send a quake type ability down that side of the room. So if his left arm is up, move to the right, and vice versa. When you reach him, he does very little other than he puts a reflect shield on himself where melee definitely need to take care or you'll kill yourself. But quite honestly, with enough damage, you'll kill it before he even casts it. You will then go up and around some stairs, cleaving more dwarves down as you go before you reach the final giant, which now can put a rune type debuff on a player who can't move and will blow up after a few seconds. If you see someone with the red circle underneath their feet, simply move away from that player and keep nuking the giant. When it comes to the dwarves in the tunnel, just focus the acolytes first who heal. The adds die so fast, it's all kind of a mundane task. In the arena, just focus down acolytes and evokers who put up shields and heal. Again, they die so quick there isn't too much to worry about, but it's worth noting if you have an engineer with mind amplification disc on their head or a priest to mind control, you can mind control the Warbringers to buff your party with Aura of Celerity, which is basically just a mini Bloodlust. Whilst it's not needed other than if you want to get the achievement, it's extra damage, so why not? The Dark Rune champions are worth looking out for in the arena as well because they do a Whirlwind and a Mortal Strike, so melee pay particular attention to these, but ultimately kill them after the casters and you'll have no problems. The arena will also have Thorim up on his platform being a bit of a dick. He will charge orbs which are in the corner of each room, just move away from the orb that's charged. Get used to this because you'll be moving from them in phase 2 as well. He also throws a storm hammer at a random person. You want to be spread for this reason. Whilst you can all absolutely stack in the centre of the room where you won't have to worry about any orb charges, the storm hammer will silence everyone around the player hit. The best way to handle this is tank and melee DPS all stack in the centre of the room to completely ignore the orb charge, whilst all range spread around outside, moving away from orbs as needs be. Now onto the actual fight. The only difference between normal and hard mode is on hard mode, Sif will assist Thorim. She'll do frostbolts, frostbolt volleys, which is raid wide, which you need healing through. A frost res aura here is useful. She'll also do frost nova on all players near her. It's got a cast time, so you can move out of range of this, but if you get hit, just get a mass dispel on your group. It does do considerable damage though, so should ideally be avoided. Finally, she'll blizzard around the room, just don't stand in it. That might sound like quite a lot's going on, but quite honestly, it doesn't change things too much because the positioning is going to be fixed, and you're largely going to ignore her. You'll want both tanks in the middle of the room, and all the tank has to do is tank swap when Thorim uses Unbalancing Strike. This reduces defense massively, and you ideally want to get a taunt off as soon as possible. Next, you'll want the raid split into 4 to 5 groups, 5 ideally, positioned around the room, spread out so only a few people get hit by chain lightning. The chain lightning can literally hit unlimited targets, so yeah, you don't want to be stacking many people together, but you also don't want to say, okay, let's spread around the room, because a dodgy bit of movement will lead to chain lightning jumping between too many people. Melee, of course, you should treat this boss like KT in Nax and set up 2 to 3 small groups of melee either side and behind the boss. Your small group should always move as a unit. This is for when Thorim uses lightning charge, which you'll see lightning on the floor working its way to the outside of the room to an orb. Just don't stand in the cone that follows the lightning. But you also need to be mindful at range that you don't move into another group. Either move behind the other range group or move in front of them. So if you got a chain lightning directly after, it's not going to hit you and the other group. The same applies for melee. It's better to use a personal cooldown and just eat the lightning rather than standing on another group of melee and chain lightning to 2 whole stacks. It's also worth mentioning that you want your lowest mobility group in a position in between the gate of the gauntlet and the boss himself in the centre of the room, because the lightning never hits this area, but you need to be far enough forward to avoid blizzard. This is an ideal location for healers or big pumping stationary DPS that you don't want running around too much. Once the lightning charge has gone off, just move back to your original position, rinse and repeat until the boss is dead. The boss does progressively hit harder throughout the fight, so saving external cooldowns and tank cooldowns for the last 20 to 25% of the boss is definitely recommended. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. If you want to see full written guides of any of these bosses, check out the link in the description to Warcraft Tavern. They've got every single boss on 10 and 25 man up on their site now. you on the next one.